Good morning, Knicks Nation. Today is Friday, the 26th of March, 2021. Happy Friday to you. Also, I hope you're all COVID-free, healthy. I hope you're all disease-free. I hope you're all having your needs being met and you have your basics, food, shelter, and clothing. Blessings on those that are working in the healthcare field, trying to save lives, help people, comfort people when they're sick or have they been in an accident or been shot. As a lot of that's happening these days. Blessings also on those that pick up garbage to keep the places clean, as well as those that make deliveries consistently and faithfully. Double blessings also on those that are working to try to free boys and girls, babies, men, women, children from the clutches of sex slave operations and sex trade operations. Curses upon those who participate and support that industry. And finally, blessings on those that are working to help the homeless, to help people that don't have roofs over their head, to maybe get a place to stay even for a night, with children, women, children, by the hundreds of thousands in this situation, and veterans as well. Blessings on them and blessings on those homeless people, and may they also find homes, and may this situation come to a eternal end. There was a basketball game last night, and our New York Knicks played the Washington Wizards for the second time this week. We played them Tuesday, and then 2 days later we played them again, both times in the Garden. It's that type of season because of the COVID, the shortness of the season, and the way everything has been modified. So in the schedule, the quirky schedule that we have, we end up playing Washington twice at home in a week. And there was no Nerlens Noel. There was no Derrick Rose. There was no Reggie Bullock available last night. And yet, it did not matter. There was no problem. Julius Randle was not at his best last night. Again, it didn't matter. One of the things that I'm really enjoying, which I knew was coming because of who the coach is, being Tom Thibodeau, but I'm really enjoying is this next man up mentality that the Knicks really have. What is the next man up mentality? That means everybody has to be ready because at any time you can be called upon it. And if you're keeping yourself prepared as you should, when it's time for you to play, you're ready to play. And so when there's injuries, when there's, knick-knack injuries or serious injuries or whatever the case may be, there's always a person to step in and fill the void. And so last night they started Randall, Robinson, Peyton, Ntilikina, and Barrett. Not the greatest starting lineup, obviously. Peyton and Ntilikina are probably the two best, defenders in the perimeter that the Knicks have, but neither of them are anything that you would consider offensive at this point. And yet, with that starting lineup, the Knicks pulled it out. And the thing is that, of course, there's tremendous play off the bench. Tremendous play off the bench. In fact, the bench outscored the starters. Again, and this is another thing that we've been seeing. We've been seeing this all year. There have been multiple games where the Knicks bench outscores the starters. And that's tremendous because the starters are pretty good, right? So sometimes they're very good. And so they really showed that last night. And it's very refreshing to have finally a team in New York that you really want to see. That's a good team. And one of the signs of our up and comingness is you're getting a lot of bandwagon people that were dishing on the Knicks, and all of a sudden now they're all, as if they were always for the Knicks. A lot of media people jumping on the bandwagon. When you started getting bandwagon people, man, you're coming up. And so this next man up mentality that they have was tremendous. Alec Burks, Emmanuel quickly coming off the bench, playing significant roles in this win. The Knicks came out sluggish, as we know. They came out sluggish, but then again, they came out sluggish Tuesday also, but it was a little more sluggish today. It was more mental, I think, than anything else. They have to really, and that's another thing, they have to continue to push for 48 minutes of good basketball, no matter who they're playing. They were slow. They came out sluggish. And it was interesting. There's a type of energy. Like if you ever watch a high school basketball game or even a college basketball game, when two teams are playing, there's a lot of hype, right? A lot of energy. And when the game starts, there's a lot of, explosive plays and big, because it's that initial energy that they bring, trying to, be hyped for the game. Especially in college, you see that a lot. It doesn't mean that the team that starts out leading is going to win. It's just that they're more hyped. And that's the way Washington came out. They was all hyped, as if they were acting as if this was a playoff game. The Knicks was acting as if this was just a regular game. and they came out, like gangbusters, but I knew that was just that initial flow of energy. That in the NBA, the game is 48 minutes long. So it's a long game. It's not, no quick game. It's not like in high school games, 32 minutes, or at least it used to be. And in college, it's 40 minutes. But in the NBA, it's 48 minutes. And so, and 24-second clock. So you got a lot of game. I was very confident the Knicks were going to come back. I didn't know how, but I just knew that they were the better team and they were going to come back last night. And they did. And for example, again, tremendous defense. Tremendous defense. I mean, it was different guys. Frank on Beal, or Frank on Westbrook, RJ on Westbrook or Beal, and of course Peyton also on Westbrook or Beal. They played tremendous defense. And this, again, if you're a Knicks fan for, let's say you've been a Knicks fan for 20 years, right? Let's say you go back to the early 2000s with the Knicks. There was, after that early 2000 period, where you had Larry Johnson and guys like Latrell Sprewell and guys like, Marcus Camby, and you had guys that, they played really good defense, right? But then after that period, we started weakening on the defensive end, especially after Jeff Van Gundy left. When Jeff Van Gundy left, we had a hard time maintaining the level of defense that we hadn't got accustomed to seeing from the Knicks during the 90s with Pat Riley, and then again in the early 2000s, as I just mentioned. And then even before that, when Willis Reed and them was playing. And then even when the Knicks were not that good, when Hubie Brown was coaching, they still played tough defense, right? So that started being on the wane, and it was really frustrating to watch. I mean, they would get guards that were decent guards, but could not guard the perimeter of the floor. And we would get beat, like I mentioned a couple of times, by guys that would normally maybe not even be in the league, or be in the G League, or be off the bench, or end of the rotation. And we'd make them look like all-stars, getting that. But see, now that is not the case anymore. So like I said, you had last night, you had a combination of people like Frank, and then you had RJ, and then you had Peyton. They were not being permitted to just flow through the lane the way they wanted to. Especially a Westbrook, which you all know is explosively aggressive, getting to the basket. That wasn't happening. They weren't allowing that. They weren't making that easy for them. Westbrook ended up with 13 points, 3 of 15 from the field. And you know why? Because they cut off the basket and made him shoot jump shots. And Russell Westbrook, for all of the big time player that he is, and he is a big time player, he's a terrible shooter. It's a terrible perimeter shooter. I mean, he's really horrible. He gets to the basket. That's how he scores a lot of his points. Now, he'll hit a big shot at crunch, which is what one of the things makes him a superstar. Crunch time, he'll hit a big shot as if he's a good shooter. But generally speaking, he's a terrible shooter. So the Knicks made him shoot jump shots last night. Every time he shot a jump shot, I felt good, because it's exactly what we want them to do. And then, of course, Bradley Beal is a superstar in his prime, tremendous shooter. He was 8 of 23. and he was working hard for every basket he got. He ended up with 26 points and 9 assists, but 6 turnovers and 5 fouls because, you had to guard. He had to try to guard RJ at times. Wasn't happening. RJ did bully ball on Westbrook as well. Speaking of RJ, he did not shoot the ball well either. RJ was, 7 of 22 last night. And he was 8 of 11 from the foul line, which is decent. Much better than he would have did last year. But, it was all right. But the thing about RJ, there's many things about him. First, he's got that bully ball thing. When RJ was at Duke, I was not high on RJ. I was not happy that the Knicks drafted him. I knew they had to draft him because it was obvious Zion was number 1. John Morant was going to go next. And then there was RJ. You had to draft him. There was nobody, that you were going to really pick and not suffer very serious consequences from the media and from fans if you didn't pick RJ Barrett. So I knew they had to pick him because they were, the position they were drafting in. I was not high on him. And the reason I wasn't is because I noticed at Duke when I watched him is that he didn't seem very athletic. He seemed to bully ball his way to the basket in college and overwhelm opponents with his strength. He wasn't a good shooter, not even from the foul line. I think he shot 60% or less from the foul line in college. He had a good IQ. He played decent defense. I thought he would seriously struggle in the NBA shooting, both with the speed of the game and the fact that he just comes into the league not a good shooter. So I wasn't very high on him. But within that first month under Fizdale, when he was playing RJ, heavy minutes, 35, 40 minutes a night, I understood. First of all, he does have high IQ. Second of all, I did not think he was going to get away bully balling people in the NBA the way he did in Duke. But he does. He does. And then he plays an all-around game. Like nothing, and that's another reason I was kind of concerned because nothing stuck out except for his strength. His strength stuck out. But he could do a little bit of everything, And so, but what is showing up as right now in his second year at age 20, he's improving his shot, as we've all seen. Sometimes he's still like last night, 7 for 22, but he's vastly improving his jump shot, his 3-pointer, his foul shooting. He's vastly improving his shot. He is bully balling veterans, grown men that you would never. This 20-year-old kid is giving them the business. Last night was Westbrook's turn. And he's coming up with high IQ things. Like he'll steal the ball when you need to steal. Last night he had 3 steals. He'll steal the ball, at the right time. He'll make the right pass at the right time. Okay. And then of course, last night he hit the boards. He had 10 rebounds last night. And so I guess what I'm saying is he's a winning player. He's a winning type of player. A guy that, you're going to see on playoff teams for a long time because that's the kind of guy, that's the kind of player he is. And so when you add that with the Julius Randle, with and Mitchell Robinson played 21 minutes. Well, he would have played longer, but Taj Gibson played so well. That next man up played so well for, coming in the second unit. There was no need to take him out. There was really no need. Taj was doing a tremendous job last night. Now, Taj Gibson scored 10 points, had a total of 8 rebounds, but his impact on the game, he had 2 blocks. He had diving on the floor for the ball, playing tremendous defense. His impact on the game was bigger than his stats. And that's why I like players like that. Like Frank is like that too. Impact on the game is bigger than the stats. And so you got to watch the game to appreciate the way Taj was playing last night. Kevin Knox came in. He played a little 6 minutes. And again, Obi with 11 minutes. I don't like that, but it is what it is. But he played 11 minutes. And then, of course, Alec Burks, 27. He was really, really, and it wasn't like he was efficient. 8 of 18. That was all right. 9 of 11 from the free throw line, big time from the free throw line. But it was clutch. It was when we needed it. He was hitting baskets when we needed it. When we needed a basket. And the thing is about Burks that I knew about him before he came here. I never thought of him as a tremendous player, but because he come up in the Utah system, he's a playoff performer. He's a good playoff performer. This is a guy that knows how to make buckets in big time situations in a playoff game. So that's gonna bode well for us going forward. And he did it last night. He came off the bench and he was hitting big time buckets, ended with 27. Quickly played a very good game last night. And this is what we were talking about the other day when I was like, I don't want to start him right now. They started Frank and Peyton. Like I said, not the greatest starting backcourt, but bringing Quickly off the bench makes Quickly tougher because he's playing against second units. Okay. And then you're bringing him off with a Burks and Taj Gibson. And man, that worked out well. And you want to pair him with a defender. And they did. Sometimes it was him and Frank. Sometimes it was him and Elfrid. But you want to really, give him that second unit because he was really playing well last night. He was 5 of 13, much more efficient. 5 of 13. He seemed to have gotten his foul shooting back. 4 of 5. That was off for a little while. He's a scorer, a little bit of playmaker. He's not shown a whole bunch of playmaking stuff yet, but he's a high IQ scoring guy. Okay. Learning how to play defense. He's a rookie still, so he's learning, but he was good last night. He was good off the bench in the second unit last night. He really was. And then, and again, with Burks doing what he does. So, the bench, it looked like the bench scored 55 points last night. Again, the bench outscored the starters. The bench scored 55 points last night. And most of that was Gibson, Burks, and Quickly, So that's, we the Knicks looking good, man. So now they got a big game, very big game, Saturday night in Milwaukee against the Bucks. The odds are against us. Milwaukee is playing very good ball. I think they've won 8 straight, something like that. They're playing really good ball right now. The top teams in the East are separating themselves from everybody else right now. I mean, you have Milwaukee, you have Brooklyn, and then you have who else? There's Milwaukee, Brooklyn, and who are you? Philly, of course, Philly. Well, they're separating themselves from the rest of the East. Between the third spot, which Brooklyn is in, and the fourth spot, which is really a tie between the Knicks and Charlotte, there's a 7-game distance. So they're separating themselves from the rest of the field. They're the class of the East. And so the Milwaukee Bucks are 9-1 in their last 10 games. They have won 8 straight. They are now hitting their stride. I guess what I'm saying is the big dogs in the league are starting to hit their stride right now. Yeah, I'm telling you, I don't think Brooklyn is going to represent the East in the finals. It's going to be Philly or Milwaukee. These guys are playing really, really good basketball and both sides of the basketball as well. So this is not going to be an easy thing for the Knicks. We actually did beat them earlier this year, but that was early in the season. And then they beat us right after the All-Star game, but that was right after the All-Star game when we weren't. So this is going to be more of a test for us, I think, than any of those other games. And this is the one we're going to really see a measure of where we are. But it's a long shot. We got to be underdogs in this game. But that's why you play the games. The games are not played on paper, right? They're played on the hardwood. So if we could win this game, we'll be 2 games above 500. The Knicks have had at least 4 or 5 3-game winning streaks this season already. They've had at least 4. Let's be conservative and say they've had at least 4 3-game winning streaks. That's an up-and-coming team right there. So if we can beat Milwaukee, this would be another 3-game winning streak. And we would be 2 games above 500. And we pretty solidly the 4th seed in the East. That's really tremendous. So there's a lot we can get from this game. Now I'm hoping Derrick Rose is healthy, but they haven't been playing him because his conditioning is off. And that makes a lot of sense because not only did he just miss time period, but he actually had the COVID, which means it attacks your respiratory system. That's what I've seen with several people. Attacks your respiratory system. And so he's got to get his wind back. So even though he's technically, healthy, he may not be 100%. So even if he does play Saturday night against Milwaukee, he's going to be coming off the bench. He's not going to be starting because you got to give him that time to build his wind up. So we might, Peyton. Today is Friday, so we'll see how he feels. I mean, he was much better last night in terms of his movements, in terms of his hammy. It looked like I was a little concerned Tuesday. It looked like he was still struggling, but he was moving a lot better last night. So maybe it's getting better. Then you got Frank, and then you have Emmanuel quickly. That's what we have now. Hopefully Nerlens will be back. But the big plus for us going into this Milwaukee game is Mitchell Robinson. Mitchell Robinson is a problem. I mean, he just is. So, and he's going to be a problem for Milwaukee. So, if he doesn't get in foul trouble, he is a force to be working with because you got to watch him around the basket. His hands are tremendous. He catches everything. He's not like Nerlens. Well, he doesn't bubble the ball like that. He catches stuff that you don't think he would get, and he flushes it quickly. So yeah, there's that. So we'll have Mitchell Robinson. That's a big one. All right, that's a big one right there. And hopefully, I don't know why. I think Reggie sprained his ankle, which is why he was out. But we could use Reggie Bullock Saturday night as well for defense. So we got a chance. We always have a puncher's chance to win every game because we play defense. The Knicks the Knicks are top in the league in defense in several categories. So, but we're playing against one of the top 4 teams in the game right now. Philadelphia, the Milwaukee Bucks. So anyway, that's that. Now the trade, I was 100% sure. Well, not 100. I was at least 90% sure that Frank Ntilikina was going to be traded. I was 90% sure, and I mentioned that. I mentioned it after Tuesday's game, and here he's still here. Frankie 9 lives, man. Frankie 9 lives. He's still here. I can't believe that. Matter of fact, let's say some of the things that I was predicting. I predicted that both Evan Fournier and Aaron Gordon would be off for the Orlando Magic by today. And they both are. I didn't understand why the Orlando Magic would not trade Vucevic if they were trading those other 2 guys. And they did. Because it didn't make any sense. He wouldn't fit the timeline. And it looks to me that Orlando's really going to give Mo Bamba a shot at being in the starting five for them, which is good. I mean, Mo's a local dude. We want to see him succeed. And I like Mo Bamba. All right, so that happened. I thought for sure that the Knicks would try to get a shooter like a Fournier really it was Fournier I was looking at, or Norman Powell when he all of a sudden came up. And, but no, the Knicks stood pat, and I'm glad they did because the main prize we were looking for was Lonzo Ball. And what else did we say about Lonzo Ball? Well, it's better for us to wait till the off season. David Griffin was losing his leverage. Okay. And if you notice, like Chicago was trying to get him, apparently there were several teams trying to get him. But I told y'all, if he has made it known he wants to sign with the Knicks, nobody's going to give up real assets to try to get him. Because if he's going to leave, why are you doing that? Okay? So that's why they didn't pull the trigger. Because it's known he wants to sign with the Knicks. So then they was trying to see what they can get from the Knicks. And Rose and them ain't stupid. They know he's coming. So why they won't give up anything when they don't have to? Okay? So now the next move is this. David Griffin going to be begging for a sign and trade. And so a lot of players will acquiesce and do that. They don't have to do that, but they will acquiesce and do that. Okay? But they can sometimes just walk and say, okay, you match this or don't. But they'll probably do a sign and trade. Now, what are we going to give up in the sign and trade? That's the question. I still think Frank is a prime candidate, in a sign and trade that they might want. I still think they might want Obi Toppin. I still think they might want Kevin Knox. And I still think Kevin Knox ain't going nowhere because he's from Kentucky. And so that could still happen, in the off season. But I can see a sign and trade coming, because they'll probably acquiesce to that. That's good for, and that's also good for building relationships with other GMs. You don't want to dog people. Like, this Masai Ujiri yesterday was trying his best to fleece anybody he could, and nobody was having it. Because everybody know that cat's a shyster. So nobody was having it, He ended up trading Norman Powell. What did he get? Well, he got Grant. He got Grant. Gary Trent Jr. He got Gary Trent Jr. for Norman Powell, that was still a good move though. Okay. He's still rough, man. But he was trying to fleece Miami and Philly for 35-year-old Kyle Lowry, and they just wasn't having it. So, and then of course, Victor Oladipo ends up in Miami. That's a good spot for him. I hated to see Miami give up on Olynyk though. He's a solid 4. He's a solid player, another winning type player. But okay, and so we'll see how that works out. And then, of course, to me, the biggest move yesterday, everybody would say the Aaron Gordon move, and that was a big move. Aaron Gordon going to Denver, and of course Evan Fournier going. Where did Fournier go? I think he went to Boston. Yeah, Evan Fournier is going to play there. He's going to play the new role that was he's going to play the role of the boy they just lost that went to Charlotte. He's going to play that role, Gordon Hayward's role. That's what they got him. I don't think he's as good as Gordon Hayward, but we'll see what happens. But the biggest move was Rondo going to the Clippers. That was the biggest move. The thing about Rondo is he really is a championship point guard. He only won 2 rings. I say only, but the IQ on that guy is amazing. But the problem with Rondo, aside from his attitude, is he is always getting hurt. A couple of years ago, he was playing for Chicago, and they were about to knock off somebody in the playoffs. I forgot who it was, and he broke his hand or something. And it's been like that a little bit all the time. So if Rondo stays healthy, I got to figure the Clippers are going to win the West, because that's what they were needing, a guy like that. So if Rondo stays healthy, the Clippers are going to be a problem in the West. The question is, will he stay healthy? He's always breaking something, thumb, hand, something. He's always doing something every year. It's like Chris Paul like that too. But if Rondo's healthy with the Clippers, they're going to be a problem. Right now, they're 3rd. They've won 4 straight, and now they're getting Rondo. I know they hate to give up Lou Williams, but this was a good trade for them. To me, that was the biggest deal yesterday, because they're going to be a problem. They really are. So that was that. Knicks stayed packed, though. I'm glad they did. No need to make any moves. You understand, there is a thing called continuity. Okay? Continuity. What is that? That means you have a team that's gelling together as a team. And that's one of the most important concepts of winning basketball, having a team that gels together. This team that we have has been together since training camp, and they have gelled together. They fit with each other so that you can come with that next man up mentality. You don't want to mess with that continuity if you don't have to. Okay? A lot of people think it's NBA 2K. You just unplug one player and plug in another player. It doesn't work like that. You have to be able to gel together. Okay? Okay, and so the Knicks are doing that right now. They're gelling. Now there's things they need, of course, but you got to balance your needs versus the continuity and the camaraderie of the team. And that's why it was smart for them not to make any moves yesterday. Okay. We can get Lonzo in the off season. We don't have to push for him now. He's going to come. He's going to be our starting point guard. Unless, I can't see what else. He's going to be the starting point guard. And let me tell you another move that was big yesterday. When Vucevic went to Chicago, there's more behind that than we know. Let me tell you why. Chicago right now is in the 10th spot. Okay, 4-6 in their last 10, lost 2 in a row. They're 19-24. Right now, they are a game and a half out of the 8th spot. They are 2.5 games out of the 6th spot. So it's not that bad. In 2022, Zach LaVine is an unrestricted free agent. Now, some of y'all are not high on Zach LaVine. Maybe you're thinking of the Zach LaVine that was 2 years ago or 3 years ago. This guy's put his game together since then. He's matured. So now he's got a total offensive game. His defense is still a lot to be desired, but I think he's like Randall. Like he's ready, he's willing to improve in the right situation, given the right coach like Tom Thibodeau. And so you put Zach LaVine between Lonzo Ball and R.J. Barrett with Mitchell Robinson and Julius Randle. And you have Emmanuel quickly coming off the bench with Alex Burks and Bullock. That is a deep running playoff team. That's not just a first round playoff team. That's a playoff team that's a threat to get to the Eastern Conference Final with Tom Thibodeau. Okay? Zach LaVine is going to be an unrestricted free agent at the end of next season, 2022. What this move was designed to do was to show Zach LaVine that Chicago aims on winning. And they aim on winning now. That's what this move. They sent Wendell Carter out. That was a promising young 5, man. He can play the 4 to 5. They sent out 2 number 1s. 2021 number 1, 2023 number 1. They're trying to show Zach LaVine, we're in win now mode, my man, and we want you to stay. That's what they're saying. Now, this is key. What happens the rest of this season is going to determine whether he stays or not. If they start to make a run, and they make the playoffs, he probably would stay. But if they don't, and they end up in the lottery again, he's available. And so what we're going to see, that situation is going to dictate whether we can have an opportunity to sign Zach LaVine. If they make a run and they end up the 7th seed and they're in the playoffs and they make a strong push, he'll probably sign an extension, before next season. He'll probably sign an extension. If that coach is an old time heavy recruiter from Florida, Billy Donovan. He comes out of the Rick Pitino system. I don't know what he was whispering. Him and Rick Pitino could get any big time player to come to the program. I don't know what they were paying him, what they were whispering, whatever. But when Billy Donovan went to Florida State, he was consistently getting great players. And then he went to Oklahoma City and he did a good job there. And now he's in Chicago. And so with all of that, I'm saying is that he can convince Zach, we're going to do this. Okay, and you're going to be the major part of this. If that's the case, he'll resign. But if this thing doesn't turn out right and they start losing, he's gone. And I would love to get him. That's why I want to save our 2022 cap space. Save the space. This year we're going to have $69 million in cap space coming into the summer. Once we sign Lonzo and we re-sign Mitchell, we're probably going to be, somewhere around low 30s, in cap space. And that's all we need. Okay, that's all we're going to need to re-sign, to get a guy like that. He's going to be available. And so I want to keep our books open for him. Also, TJ Warren's another guy to watch. He's in Indiana. He's a tremendous offensive player. He really is. And he plays adequate defense because he played for Nate McMillan. And he plays good defense. Not tremendous, but he's adequate, definitely, for a Tom Thibodeau system. That's another guy to watch for next year. Both of these guys are going to be available. And there's a couple of other names like that. But Zach LaVine would be the prize in 2022 for the Knicks. Because with what we already have, what we're already developing, and I'm expecting us to get Lonzo Ball. I'm expecting him to become a New York Knick this summer. So with all of that, you add Zach LaVine to that mix, we're really, really good. We're a threat. We're a threat in the East. We're the top 3, top 4 threat in the East for sure. When you put that together. All right, so let's see what happens. That's what that move was designed for yesterday. That's the Chicago Bulls telling Zach, we're serious, man. We want to win, and we want to win now. And Zach saying, okay, let's see what happens. And that's what I say. Let's see what happens. Because if it doesn't work out, we could be ready. We could be right there. So anyway, please enjoy your weekend. Please be safe out there. Stay healthy. Enjoy yourself. And have a good weekend. Shalom.